Nia and Robert Tolbert from Waldorf, Maryland, were your average family. They already had a son and were as happy as can be. Then, their family expanded to the max when Tolbert got pregnant for a second and a third time, which isn't really unusual. But it's the type of pregnancies she experienced that made international news and left her husband floored. Literally. Nia Tolbert met her husband Robert in 2007. Once the two of them started dating, they realized they were truly made for each other. Of course, they had a few hiccups now and then, just like any other couple. But their love overcame all obstacles. And then they got some amazing news. The couple knew that starting a family was the next obvious step in their relationship. So, they were very excited when they learned they were expecting their first child. And in 2011, Tolbert gave birth to a boy named Shai. But this was only the beginning of their road to parenthood. In 2014, the couple got hitched, but there was something brewing inside her stomach that would alter their lives forever. It turns out that she was pregnant for a second time, and they were both excited to give Shai a little brother or sister. But then something happened that left them shaken. The Tolberts went to the doctor's office to get a sonogram which would tell them if they were having a boy or a girl. But the news wasn't what either of them had expected. The couple was told that they were having twins. Not only that, but they would be welcoming 2 boys. In 2015, Tolbert gave birth to Riley and Alexander. This meant that their household was literally a party of 5 now. But would they be open to having more kids down the line? The Tolberts had talked about it and decided that their family was big enough as it was. Raising 3 boys was going to be a challenge, but they were ready to keep them in check and shower them with love and affection. And just when they were getting used to their routine, life threw a curveball that caused Dad to faint. Tolbert remembered that back when she was expecting twins, the technician had asked her if multiple pregnancies ran in their family. And during a routine checkup, the technician once again asked her the same question. That's when alarms went off in her head. "Oh, we must be having twins again," she told ABC News. But that wasn't the case at all. It was much worse than that, and once she learned what was really happening inside her body, she felt everything spiraling. Tolbert rushed home to tell her husband what the doctors had shared with her. But she wasn't sure how he was going to take the life-altering news. Then she came up with the perfect way to soften the blow. Tolbert wrote a handwritten note and placed it inside a gift bag, which she left for him to find. He mistakenly assumed that she had gotten him a Fitbit, which he had been hinting at for a couple of weeks. But the gift came in a completely different form. Although he didn't find a Fitbit in the bag, he found something that was bound to keep him fit as he ran around the house. Of course, that all depended on whether he recovered from the shock. The first thing he noticed was a note that read, "Please accept this gift from me and God." But it wasn't until he looked inside that he was really blown away by his wife's mind-numbing secret. He thought he knew her well, but clearly that wasn't the case. "I opened the bag and I saw a very, very long sonogram," he said. "Then I saw 3 onesies in the bag. And they were numbered 1, 2, and 3. And then the world came crashing down on him. He felt like fainting the moment he realized his wife was going to have triplets. But he didn't actually end up on the floor. I was just shocked," he told ABC News. "I just went straight to bed. But would these triplets bring chaos to order?" At the time, the proud mom of 6 told ABC News, "We're already planning for our new household. It's going to be equally balanced now, with 3 little girls and 3 little boys." But could they handle all the extra expenses? Having 3 boys already helped the Tolberts prepare for the task of raising 3 additional kids. She told ABC News, "I know we're not going to sleep for a couple of years, our grocery bill is going to go up, and our house is not going to be quiet, and that's okay." Fortunately, they didn't have to worry about sibling rivalry. So, how did the triplets' older brothers feel about the news? Well, Shai and twin brothers Robert and Alex were as excited about the new arrivals as everyone else in the family. But how did this unexpected pregnancy happen? While some multiple births can often be the result of a fertility treatment, the conception of these triplets was completely natural. And according to Tolbert, all 6 of their children were conceived the old-fashioned way. But the birth was a totally different story. On January 30, 2018, the triplets were born at 34 weeks and 5 days through C-section. Each of the babies weighed about 4 pounds. The girls, dubbed the Tolbert princesses, consisted of identical twins Zuri and Bailey and a fraternal twin named Mackenzie. Despite so many kids, the Tolberts took the sweet chaos with good grace. "The cuteness gets more and more unbearable every day and all the big brothers are in love," Tolbert wrote on her Instagram when the triplets were 1 week old. Tolbert has continued to give followers a glimpse at the lives of her beautiful 6 kids on the Instagram account, at Totally Tolbert, which has over 28,000 followers. But they're not just Insta famous anymore. On July 24, 2019, Tolbert broke the news that the triplets would be starring in Harriet, a film about the life of Harriet Tubman. And as a mother, she was overwhelmed by her daughter's involvement. To be there as a mother witnessing my daughters make history alongside such a dynamic group of Black people. I've never been a part of a project this historically rich, this moving, this riveting, ever before in my life. Today I get to share that with my triplet babes, she wrote on Instagram. But did the triplets perform well? They did all the hard work, smiling and cooing on cue. Mama was just the driver, feeder, soother, entertainer, diaper changer and sleepless zombie. But I wouldn't trade the experience for anything in the world, she added on Instagram. The film was released on November 1, 2019. But to the Tolberts, their children are already stars. To be honest, it's been a little overwhelming, Tolbert tells Babel. We're still just regular folks with babes to love, bills to pay, and responsibilities to tend to. But given that their triplets alone became movie stars before their second birthdays, we can't wait to see what all 6 of their kids will do next. If you enjoyed this story, wait for our next story starting in 10 seconds. The Canal Saint-Martin in Paris, France, is one of the most historic sites in this beautiful city. But Parisian authorities had no idea that there were hidden secrets buried under the water's surface. And when they drained the canal after 15 years, they unraveled some unbelievable secrets from the past. Every 15 years or so, the city of Paris, France, drains the approximately 5-kilometer-long Canal Saint-Martin. But they hadn't done this since 2001, and it soon became clear that it was time to do it again for the sake of the local businesses in the area. In recent years, the area has turned into a hot spot for tourists and bobos, a group of people with a bourgeois bohemian way of life that are reminiscent of hipsters. New cafes, trendy bars, and quirky restaurants have also popped up in this region. But attracting tourists wasn't what Napoleon originally intended for the canal. In 1825, the canal, which was commissioned by the future French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte, was finally completed, and it had a purpose. In those days, Paris's population was growing exponentially, which increased the spread of diseases like cholera and dysentery. So, the canal became the city's saving grace, and there are plenty of reasons for it. Bonaparte hoped that the fresh water would diminish the spread of various diseases by keeping the streets clean. He funded the canal's construction by imposing a tax on wine on the population, and soon, the great work began. The network of canals included the Canal Saint-Denis, the Bassin de la Villette, the Canal de l'Ourcq, and last but certainly not least, the Canal Saint-Martin. Eventually, the networks led to the construction of something that changed the Parisian economy. The construction of Canal Saint-Martin led to the construction of 2 ports that allowed boats to enter the city to provide locals with building supplies and food. This gave Paris a leg up in the trading industry and helped push their economy forward. But the canal was almost destroyed a couple of decades back. In the 1960s, city officials discussed the possibility of draining the canal completely, and filling it up so it could get paved over and turned into a highway. Fortunately, that didn't happen, and the lovely canal serves a different purpose today. Locals turned the banks by the canal into a cultural hub full of nightclubs where tourists often head to have a good time or walk to the nearby bridges to take some unforgettable selfies. But the influx of people has had an unfortunate side effect that no one had foreseen until the canal was drained. As the area around Canal Saint-Martin grew, people from far and wide started turning it into something that was the total opposite of what Bonaparte had envisioned all those centuries ago, and it was getting worse with each passing year. When the canal was last drained in the early 2000s, workers discovered that the bottom had become some sort of time capsule full of discarded items. Some of them had no value, but others could have ended up in a museum. Among the various items found at the bottom of the canal were gold coins, 2 75mm shells from World War I, and a couple of less interesting, but ultimately strange, items like washing machines. But this wasn't the most unusual thing they found in the past. Ever since the city started draining the canal, about 50 vehicles have been unearthed and pulled out. But what did they find that was so shocking when they went back to drain the canal in 2016? Once they drained the canal, the workers went into the canal bed to start the cleanup effort. They knew it wouldn't be an easy process, but it had to be done. Soon, the water was so low that some locals thought they were witnessing a miracle. Locals found it unusual to see their precious canal drained as it was. In fact, some folks could literally walk across the canal without fear of drowning because the water was only ankle high. But if they knew what was lurking underneath the canal, they would have thought twice about stepping foot in these murky waters. People had been throwing mopeds and bikes into the canal all these years, which remained buried under the water until the workers uncovered them. But there was a reason why these folks took such drastic actions with their vehicles. Some of the bicycles and mopeds had been there for quite a long time, while others appeared to have been thrown in a bit more recently. But most of the items seemed to have some sort of backstory to them. The workers had found items that were pretty old and full of history. They weren't just discarded junk. They represented the city's diverse history and also one of its latest developments. Paris launched Velib, the city's largest bike-sharing service, which has a fleet of over 20,000 bicycles and 1,800 bicycle stations. The canal seemed to be plagued by Velib bicycles. But that wasn't the only thing the workers unearthed. Workers found a number of chairs, supermarket carts, dustbins, fire extinguishers and other items like umbrellas and even street signs. They also found a collection of items that posed a threat to local wildlife. There were lots and lots of water bottles in the muddy bottom of this iconic waterway, and some locals weren't happy about this or any of the other junk that was discovered by the workers. A public sector worker who was present during the 2001 cleanup told The Guardian, "The last time, I don't remember seeing so much rubbish in it. I despair. The bobos are using it as a dustbin." The worker was right about the canal being turned into a dustbin, because unlike previous times the canal was drained, it took a long while to clean it all up. It took an estimated 3 months to scour through the entire canal and remove every bit of junk that people dumped since the last cleanup. Even tractors were brought in to help with the cleanup process. So, it's hard to imagine that anything could have lived in the canal during that time. Before the workers started the cleanup process, they went in with long nets to catch the fish that were living in the canal. They didn't have a lot of time, and they had to make sure all the fish were accounted for before they got taken to a safer location. The cleanup project was a costly one for the city. In the end, it set them back more than $10 million, but it was worth it to ensure that one of Paris's most historic canals didn't remain a waste zone. And when a politician noticed the project was getting tons of publicity, she saw a major opportunity. Parisian Deputy Mayor Celia Blauel urged the local population to stop throwing things into the canal. And as an incentive, she explained that by doing so, the Canal Saint Martin could be clean enough for people to swim in sometime in the near future.